On Second Shot, we tackle 2 new headlines every week to find out what kind of wisdom the world is dishing out today. And we want you to be a part of that. When you see a headline you want to take a second shot at, or if you're looking for advice, or just want to tell us what you think of the show, email us at secondshotcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, rate us on iTunes. This helps us move up in the ratings so more people will see us. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the show so that the new episodes will get straight to you every single Friday. We love you. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Heath Oaks is a millennial mogul whose ignorance on fire led him to fail his way to success. Jenny Anchondo is an Emmy award-winning journalist whose sharp eye and biting wit have led to her storied career in television. Together, they tackle today's headlines in a way only an odd couple with a dash of perfect opposite can. So kick back, relax, and join the conversation. This is Second Shot with your hosts, Heath and Jenny.
Hello everybody, and Heath is a slacker again, and he's off, but that's okay because we have I wouldn't call them replacements, but additions to the show today. First of all, welcome Matt, our trusty producer here.
Yes, hello. Good to see you again.
How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Happy to be here.
He's like the band leader on Ellen.
He's like, is he really happy to be here?
I'm always happy to be here. I'm always happy to be here.
Okay, we have...
Sorry, did that sound fake in some way?
No,
Okay.
No, it's your voice. It's like, it's your essence.
Okay.
It's what you bring to the table.
Okay.
So you guys, we have a couple of people who for years got up like me at like 2 a.m. So they're full of energy today at 10 a.m. Ron Corning and Alexa Conomos. Good morning to both of you.
Hey, it's so good to be here with you.
It's amazing how you don't realize how exhausting it is until you're not doing it anymore. And I always would think about Alexa because I could get up later because it's less time for us to get ready, for guys to get ready than women. And she also was dealing with going to bed later because she had children. So I used to say to her, how do you do it? But she always was tired. And I finally said to her one day, listen, here's the thing. We're just going to, you tell me when you're well rested and feeling great. And otherwise, I'll just presume you're always tired.
Now, that was his way of telling me to shut the, up.
About the whole situation.
But I can't, if I had $1 for every time I heard you say that, Daddy.
You'd be a rich woman.
So,
we were tired.
So how does it feel to not get up at 2 a.m. anymore? Or whatever time you would get up, 1:30, 2:30?
It's amazing. I mean, I thought after my last day at Channel 8, I'll be waking up at 3 a.m. for months to come. It's hard to break that sleep cycle, The next morning I slept till 7. It's life-changing, really. Wouldn't you say, Ron?
It is, and I don't want to preclude myself from never doing it again because, if the right morning job were to come along, I would do it. When I was really involved and, as I say, had a seat at the table and editorially my ideas were accepted and worked with, it was rewarding. And it was easier to stay on the kind of schedule that allowed you to do it. But Alexa has a great analogy. People say, well, the longer you do it, the easier it becomes, right?
No.
And your analogy is?
Well, it's like putting mileage on a car. So it is. The car doesn't get newer with the more 100,000 mile tune-up. But when you think about it, the car doesn't get newer. There's wear and tear. And I do totally agree with you, Ron. I think that we had some really great years at Channel 8. We were putting out some great TV. And that's what really made those hours more palatable because we loved what we were doing. And I think that mornings provide you that opportunity. Morning TV.
When you just become a cog in a
opportunity.
Wheel and just part of a machine and you're not really...
You're like, oh, someone else can do this machine.
You're like, okay, listen, I'm not going to be a meat puppet. Prop me up here and read a prompter, right?
Okay, so people who are in Dallas definitely know who our guests are today, but for people who are listening outside of Dallas, I want to give the full introduction. So
hit it, sister.
And here we go with the intro. So they were co-anchors on WFAA, News 8 Daybreak. So Alexa moved to Dallas to grow her TV career nearly 20 years ago. So she moved here when she was like
She
5
really
and a
moved
half.
here to find a man. This whole thing about growing her career is a lie.
I was in the womb.
She had run out of men. She had run out of men in Palm Springs.
And there are a lot in Dallas.
Well, yeah, they were all 65 and older.
So she recently wrapped up her post in the anchor chair and is now expanding her reach in terms of media. So she works as a multimedia journalist, podcast producer and host, media coach, and content creator. She's also a licensed realtor and has created her own way of doing business. This is really cool. She produces and hosts the videos to sell her clients' homes. So
that's cool.
Amen to that if you're trying to sell a home.
Every home has a story, Jenny. Let me tell yours.
Well, thank you for that pitch. She's also a mother of 3, by the way, so she's no slacker. So let me tell you about Ron. He is a journalist and broadcaster. In anywhere you've lived in the country, you have probably seen him. He co-anchored World News Now and ABC World News This Morning. Also anchored on the national level on The Daily Buzz. Loved that show.
One of the funnest jobs of my life.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and a turning point for me in a lot of ways, but yeah.
Because on the national stage, right? I mean, was that the first
Well, it wasn't only that it was on the national stage, but it was really, truly the entire time I was there, such a close-knit group of people, and they really wanted us to just be us.
Isn't that so freeing?
I mean, that's literally what everyone's looking for. Yes.
And I'll tell you what the lesson in that was for me was I never got more offers to do other things than when I was able to just be myself on this show. I mean, the environment was just conducive to it. We forgot we were on TV, and I think that was really important.
That's the ticket. Okay, I have to finish. Excuse me. Let me finish your bio.
All right.
Zip it, Ron.
Okay, so his broadcasting career took him to New York, Seattle, St. Louis, and then Dallas. That's how we all connected. And now these two are co-hosting a spicy new podcast called Morning After, which gives us really more insight, I think, into you two than a traditional news program, even if it's an open one, ever could. And that's what I think has been kind of fun about it. And that's why I wanted to have you guys come on today and do the second shot thing.
Well, thank you. We've loved doing it.
What did you guys?
I don't know if I shared this with Alexa, but one of our former producers said to me after watching episode 5, which was talking about your trip to Vegas and some
you guys, it's so good.
and other such things, that it was like when he used to be producing the show and would listen in on our conversations during commercial breaks. And to me, that was the best possible compliment.
Yeah.
Yes, because it is just your. Well, isn't that the beauty of podcasting? And here's the truth.
It is.
Some people who have watched us on the news will not open up the podcast app for another 2 years. And that's but when they do, they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, this is a gold mine."
Well, a lot of people don't understand how it works.
They don't understand how it works. Like it's the education phase right now.
Frankly, we didn't know exactly how it worked either, except that people were doing it, and it was a platform. And when we were approached to do it, we were like, "Absolutely, we want to work together." And we're educating some people too, who will message and say, "Now, what channel is this on? I need to DVR it. I wish it weren't Thursdays at 10. I'm at work." And it's like, no, the beauty of it is it lives there forever, and you can watch it anytime.
You can binge listen. Okay, so they're going to play the second shot game with us. And have you guys heard about this Bluebell incident? It is disgusting if you're eating right now, especially if you're eating ice cream. Just like, well, stop eating the ice cream and keep listening. So Bluebell is looking at a video that shows a woman licking ice cream and putting it back into the store's freezer. Here's the backstory. Bluebell Ice Cream says it's taking this incident very seriously. It's a 9-second clip. It shows the woman licking and it's the tin roof ice cream, if we need to be specific. Just like if you have any in your fridge. Rocky Road is safe, allegedly. So basically, licks the tin roof ice cream. Someone is off camera and yells foul and tells her to put it back in the freezer.
Which is equally as foul.
Also foul.
That's a horrible suggestion.
Throw it away.
Right.
Put it back so some poor soul can buy
The
it.
woman laughs, walks away, and the door closes. So at this point, still unclear where or when the video was taken. In a statement, Bluebell says it's working with law enforcement, retail partners, social media platforms in connection with this whole thing, saying this kind of incident will not be tolerated. If you're wondering about, like, okay, why was she able to open it up? Bluebell says that its lids are frozen tightly, so its ice cream cartons, and that a lid that had been tampered with would be noticeable.
So in other words, they don't have that cellophane covering that goes over that you have to peel back. Imagine being the police officer assigned to this. You come in, and you're told by who tells you, your sergeant, your chief, here's today's assignment. You are looking for the ice cream licking bandit.
Dun, dun,
That's your job. There was the doorbell licking bandit recently. He was caught on doorbell cameras, like licking those. So,
yeah.
But is this the real deal? Is this someone playing a prank?
No,
that's my first question. Is this the real
is
deal?
it a disgruntled employee, or is it somebody who's suffering from a mental illness? Honestly,
right. Well, but it's two people involved, though. I mean, if it was just one person,
it's a licking conspiracy.
Like it was two people. So so if I'm gonna like dive really deep in my brain on this one and think, okay, what's my second shot on this whole weird incident, it makes me think of, you go to the store, you assume your ice cream's not been licked, right?
That is a pretty reasonable human assumption.
It's a safe assumption. But how often are we just assuming things in life and not checking into them?
Well, okay, that's such a good point. I like your second shot, because I think that reminds us, we were in school and they talked about learning how to be a critical thinker. Mm-hmm. A critical thinker doesn't take things at face value, that you look beneath the surface. And we want our kids, right, to be critical thinkers. But how often do we take things for granted? We're kind of like we're on autopilot.
But how often could we take things too far? That's where you sort of get into the shot. Then don't you get into people who are germ phobes and they won't eat anything that's packaged or processed, or they don't. Really, where do you draw the line in terms of trust in the food we eat that's packaged?
Right.
Oh, that's hard though.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I would look at it more in just like in a life sense. Like, sure, trust the food that you eat, but also critical thinking on a day-to-day basis, who you're working with, who you're associating with.
Be present.
Yeah, we're so busy. Listen, I know
Thank you, Brene Brown.
No, but if you're taking the lid off and it feels loose, if you're present.
And it looks like there are lick marks on it.
Yeah. You see, an indentation the size of a tongue.
I just think if we, I walked up to get both of you today, looking down at my phone, kind of scrolling through my emails, kind of doing my thing. Who knows what was going on around me?
You were a pedestrian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could have tripped.
Not present.
You could have run into someone or missed out on something.
I could have seen some ice cream and eaten it and not known it had been licked.
Uh-huh.
I remember reading Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential and wishing I hadn't, because there were things in there about the food we eat that comes out of restaurants and what the restaurant rating system really means about what their infractions are, and there's so much about it you just don't even want to know that we expose ourselves to, right?
There's a certain comfort in blissful ignorance, right? And not, obviously if I see that somebody's pried open the top of my ice cream, I'm probably going to be wary of it, but gosh, if I didn't know, is it going to hurt me? I don't know.
What you don't know won't hurt you.
Exactly.
Until you think, I've got the flu. No, you have a stomach bug. You've just eaten bad food.
I'm also reminded of just the power of branding. And if you're outside of Texas, you don't understand the power of Bluebell. But gosh, we can all remember when the Listeria thing went down and people were not worried about their ice cream. They were saying, when is it coming back? That's all we cared about.
Isn't that true?
That's a whole other conversation.
Do you guys remember that?
You and I did not feel good about that.
No, we did. Someone died.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone lost their life.
Multiple
who went
people
out.
were very sick.
Yes.
And somebody made a decision at a television station where we both used to work together that we won't name here.
Okay. Too bad I already named it on the top of the
bio.
bio.
It would be a good idea to do a Facebook Live and go down to, I think, Houston, where they were delivering the first batches.
Yeah.
And put it in coolers and have an ice cream social on the patio, and I'm thinking, and invite viewers, and I'm thinking to myself, why are you elevating this brand and celebrating something that led to the death of someone?
And if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't just that someone died and several people were sick, but was there not some kind of lying going on or a cover or something?
There was some knowledge of there might have been.
They were slow to respond.
So, I think it was.
Jenny's like, we have opened a Pandora's box. I just want to talk about the licking bandit.
No, it's interesting because we were living parallel lives at that point in time.
Yeah.
You were working
for different stations, but having that same question about should we,
who made that decision?
I think it's fine to say, okay, cover the story as it is. They are back in business, and now these flavors are being released and everything like that. But from a news sense, being celebratory about something like that
and holding an ice cream social.
It feels a little bit like, who's paying you, supposedly credible journalists to promote this brand.
It looks like payola plugola, but
there needs to be sensitivity attached.
And there was a local angle to it. It's locally based. It's near what? Is it in New Braunfels?
It's in Brenham.
It's in Brenham. It's in Brenham, not New Braunfels. It's in Brenham. And it employed 600 people who were all out of work, and it affects the community.
Important.
And all of those things are important to their comeback. But this whole idea of
and I just think looking at this story, I can see the average Bluebell fan saying, yes, they're not doing things that I think other ice cream people are doing. They're not putting the cellophane around. There's no protection in place for you to just go and pry the lid off of an ice cream and lick it. But it's such a powerful idea. It's such a part of who you are. If you're a fan of Bluebell, you're just going to say that's just the way they do business, and I'll just pay a little bit more attention maybe whenever. Yeah,
and if you're in crisis management at Bluebell, or you're the company hired to do crisis management, like really, can you not catch a break?
Quit, yeah.
Could you not be licking the Haagen-Dazs? Why you got to lick our ice cream? We've already dealt with listeria.
That reminds me, like right after that big storm we had, I'm on like LinkedIn, and it's set up so that if you work in a certain industry, it will recommend certain jobs. And it was like right after the big storm where power was out for days, it was like a communications director at Atmos or whatever. And I was like, oh, someone's just I don't even want to deal with this.
You think that person got tired of their job pretty quickly?
Yes.
Man.
My LinkedIn sends me alerts that say give up. There's nothing out here for you.
Stop it. Does it say that?
Stop it. It does not.
It does not. No, it does not. I do want to, in the last segment, I want to talk about the media industry and what you guys are doing with your podcast and all of that. So we are going to be back in a minute with the second segment of Second Shot.
He makes up words, she translates them. Heath and Jenny host more of Second Shot, coming up on RNCN.
You guys have been listening to Second Shot and hearing us talk about it. You need to go pick up my book, Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. You can get it on Amazon in a paper book. You can also hear this beautiful voice of mine in audiobook style on Audible or anywhere you're going to get your audiobooks. Guys, this book took a lot of time to put into it, and I believe it can really be some life-changing stuff to help you on your path to success. And hopefully you're going to fail your way to success just like I did. Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. Amazon.com, Audible.com, audiobooks, paper books, everything. Get it, share it with your people, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Go pick it up today.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Second Shot is back for another round on RNCN.
So right as we were wrapping up, Alexa brought up such a good point, and I thought it would just be a worthwhile discussion and something valuable for everybody who's listening. What do you do when your employer does something that you're not totally pumped about?
Yeah.
And you work there and you got to keep your job. I mean, you guys were expressing, okay, the Bluebell thing was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge. I remember voicing my concerns about it to my manager of the show at the time, and it didn't change anything. But I think Alexa and I were far more tempered in how we presented it and kind of deferred to the reporter in the field, not to pass the buck. But I'm like, this is sort of reflects on us too, but I wasn't buying into it entirely.
Yeah. It does reflect on us when you feel like when you're the messenger, for your employer. And I think, on the one hand, we understand what it was a fine line to walk, I think. And we talked about it. Remember, we were on a radio station. We talked about how we felt about it. We just weren't comfortable with it. Someone died.
Right.
Many people got sick, and there was, some shady business going on there.
And Jenny, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I think we tend to forget it because we're so close to it. But the average viewer believes that the anchor of the show is also the managing editor of the show,
and wrote all the scripts.
Totally, and wrote all the scripts.
And we wrote all 200 scripts.
And what you're reporting on is what you've chosen to report on. So they don't realize that you're the messenger.
Accurate. Yes, and even if something is written in a way like a breaking news thing, or I'm sure you both got there early, read through your stuff, but it's like something's changed last minute, then it comes out of your mouth.
Oh yeah.
And if there's a flip of like 2 words, it can completely change the meaning, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, that not from me, but people do think it's from you. So it sounds like, Ron, the way that you dealt with it was just to go, like literally go to your manager, voice the concern, say I'm not okay with it, and then just temper the tone.
Temper the tone. Temper the tone.
I think that's hard because, look, here's the truth. I
wasn't going to be entirely enthusiastic about this, party.
Right.
But I was going to tell the viewers that the station had planned it, and I was going to do my job to that degree. But yeah, I think we did temper our enthusiasm.
And there were certain segments, certain stories where Ron and I would spend some time, and this was kind of, whether we felt it or whether we wanted to move on ourselves. We kind of made that decision ourselves. Are we going to really talk about this? And how effusive are we going to be? And that was one of those stories where, maybe we could have talked about it more, we didn't.
So what's key about that, or like what I see from an outside perspective, is that you two were on one team together.
Totally.
With that. And I think
they
that
loved
helps.
that.
I just think
no, we were always
to have
partners,
an ally.
always. Yeah.
Well, it's not that
and like-minded. Very like-minded.
And how are we not going to be like-minded? Because honestly, we are having a shared experience. We're on the same desk. We're dealing with the same flow of content. We're playing off each other. And if there's not synergy or understanding, or if there's a point of difference, and it's the kind of show where you're able to share thoughts or opinions, which to some degree we tried to craft, not when I say we, I mean the station, that kind of show, which I'm totally adaptable to. You have to, really, I think, be a united front. And in Alexa's absence, I never had that again, and that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, that's very difficult. I mean, the truth is, not all of us were able to leave our jobs, right? Like, not everybody's able to do that.
Right.
But I think that the encouragement maybe from this group can at least be, find somebody who's an ally and on your same page, like-minded at work, and express your complaints. That's never going to... I think managers actually respect somebody who's involved in the content of whatever they're making.
You would hope.
Right?
I saw something the other day.
Yeah,
that said,
you would. I mean, not always, but you would
always.
hope. Yeah.
I saw something the other day. It said, when you stop hearing from the most passionate people in the room, there's a problem. And then you look around and wonder why no one's saying anything. That's a reflection of a management style. And if you're not harnessing the passion and the points of view and the interest and the ideas of everyone in the room, and especially the most passionate people who feel like they're stakeholders, what's your organization going to look like ultimately in terms of culture, the work culture?
Yeah, and those people were probably hired because of their passion. Then if all of a sudden they're not sharing
and then they're tamped down.
Okay, so this is a perfect transition to this next article. There's a study out that says, this was, by the way, published in Inc.com. 37% of employees say they would leave their current job today if they were not offered this one perk.
So it's a perk, not a benefit.
Correct.
So it wouldn't be health insurance. That's
Correct.
a benefit, not
it's
a perk.
A perk.
They would leave
Free
if
coffee.
they were not
It's the
offered
coffee.
this perk. Please.
Although,
We used
I'm not going to say, don't say that.
How bad is newsroom coffee, though?
Bad.
You know what we used to call our coffee?
What?
A nice gesture.
And I'm going to tell you something. We used to have so much fun at that because they were a sponsor. I won't name names. And I remember that one day on the air when you said that, and we were just dying laughing. Because
I mean, I travel with the Starbucks Via like an emergency supply.
like it's
because
his baby bottle.
It's like with me at all times because if you need a cup of coffee and you're in an environment where the coffee's just a nice gesture, you need to be able to just
You're like,
get
it's
some
fine,
hot
I brought
water.
my own.
Is it
Exactly.
coffee? Is that the perk?
It is not coffee.
Is it?
Utensils.
You guys, this is
I
clearly
don't-
people who've worked in a newsroom and don't think of like
Right.
actual
No,
perks.
I want to tell you something. I
basic
worked in a
needs
newsroom
is
where
what
they
we're-
stopped providing utensils.
or
That was not Channel 8.
pens.
That was my first newsroom. They stopped providing utensils. You had to bring
I
your
don't think I
own.
fully
Wait, like
understand
forks and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, we never had that.
So you never had. Yeah.
ate with your hands.
We did. No,
Like
I actually
savages.
I had a stash in my thing, and I would have to replace it like every 2 weeks
'Cause people would get in there and steal
I provided.
stuff.
Yeah, I was the perk.
So let me.
were the perk.
I'm trying to understand the question. This 37% of people would leave a job if this perk were not given to them.
Yes.
And it's not coffee. It is not utensils.
It's not coffee. It's not utensils. Think like a little bit bigger.
We're not big thinkers, but
I know.
We'll
that's
give
why I
this a
said,
shot.
People that work, isn't it? So sidebar.
We're so
Isn't
small-minded.
it kind of crazy when you start to work a little bit more in the corporate world, like what amazing things there are and how things actually work? Like newsrooms are in a way just so very unprofessional, but also fun and like light and stuff like that. And then
Really,
you go
they
to
are?
an office and you're like, oh.
I
Lunch break.
emceed 2 years running the 100 best businesses in Texas down in Austin, and I would read these companies and why they were being awarded, and I'm like, what? You have happy hours, nap time, bring your dog to work from home, free vacations awarded for certain performance, and I'm thinking to myself, if we can find a coffee filter, it's a good day.
Right. I don't know what the perk could be because
Okay.
lunch isn't a perk. Isn't that true?
That should be, well, in newsrooms, that would be a perk.
Flex
in
time.
newsrooms, that's a
Flex
perk.
time.
Yeah, flex time. So this is what this study found. It was this is according to the Future of Work and Employee Learning from Citel Group. 37% of current employees say they would leave their current job / employer if they were not offered training to learn new skills.
Oh.
So apparently jobs
That's a
offer
perk?
training. Yeah.
I thought that was part of the job.
I think what they mean is like a conference,
yeah.
a growth opportunity, currently I'm doing administrative, but I want to work in this other department. Are they going to train you to do that, or are you going to have to do that on your own time?
Interesting.
Right.
So that means that there are. This is blowing my mind. There are companies that actually work with you to help you succeed and do other things. This is crazy. I did not know that existed. They actually. Right?
It's really crazy. Like
It's
I
kind of
said, the
blowing my
juxtaposition
mind.
between newsrooms and like a corporate
Right.
world.
I thought it was just sit here, look there, read that. That's what I thought it was all about. All these years.
Whole new ballgame now, baby.
So this report says 92% of U.S. employees say learning something new on the job makes them more motivated and engaged in their work. 79%
Oh, who wants any of that? That's a bunch of malarkey.
say that when searching for a job, it's important for them that the employer offers a formal training program to their employees.
I think you get the best out of an employee when you have them always wondering if they're going to lose their job. I think that's a tactic.
Is that a thing? You
You
should teach
wonder.
a management training seminar.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's a good method of management.
I just think that positivity and encouragement goes so far. When someone is positive with you and they encourage you, you want to succeed for them that much more. It's kind of like parenting in many ways.
That was so well said. Thank you.
Well, and I think
I
it's
want more
different
of the
people.
same.
Like different people. The other thing too is it's like if you don't know your employees as individuals, like you might do blanket statement, I'm going to praise everybody, and some people don't. Well, I mean, most people like praise, but like certain people are motivated by certain things. Certain people want a bonus. Like certain people are like, oh yeah, I'll work to that monetary bonus. Certain people will do it just based on
But do
praise.
they have to be mutually exclusive?
Yeah, bonuses and do better.
I was in a meeting one
praise?
time.
praise.
I was in a meeting one time, and it was the entire company, and talking about success and so forth. And the top boss said, "With the management I have in this room, I'm so confident that we're going to succeed because we have the best management." And I looked around at the rank and file, of which I was one, and everyone went, "Oh, okay, well, I guess we don't really matter." I mean, literally, that was the conversation as that meeting broke up. Like, oh, I guess if you're, other things can change and other people can leave, but as long as
Like
our
you're
management,
interchangeable.
but
this
the
is
management team,
this is the A
rock
team.
solid.
Y'all are the B and C's.
And the B and
Interchange-
C's
yeah.
were like,
Yeah.
I'm a B and you're a C, and how are you feeling? I mean, nobody was feeling good about that.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, you have to, like Ron said, whether you're, I don't know, whether you're the PA and you're running scripts, you're collating scripts to the top manager, you've got to feel appreciated and respected, period, the end. You're showing up to work every day, you're making your contribution, you deserve their respect.
Remember Robin, who used to run the prompter?
Member? Of course.
Remember, and she was like masterful at
course.
it. She would
Of
know.
course. Loved
Yeah.
She would know. She would listen when we were going to ad lib, so the prompter
she was
would
a
stop.
master.
And then
Key.
when we had to run our own prompter, we were like, I had such an appreciation.
Do you remember that girl
For
who
what
used
Robin
to,
did.
yeah, or the girl who used to study at the
Excuse
prompter?
us, Jenny, while
Sorry.
we go down memory lane.
Tell her, shout out to Robin.
Shout out to Rob. Yeah. But I mean, they deserve your respect.
Of course.
Period.
When I heard this one, I thought, okay, my second shot in this is a little bit like, okay, this obviously works for work, but what about relationships? Like, so they're talking about job training. I love to like learn something with my partner. What is that weird? Like, I'm not talking about
My
on the job.
mind goes straight to the gutter.
Stop it. Okay, well, that's Ron's second shot. I'll let him explain that. I love doing like learning a new thing with my husband, or just like
Like
we
where?
With
Where
him
do
or
you
from
learn
him?
these things?
Like we went to this Rough Creek Lodge.
Whoa.
Not too long ago. And oh my gosh, it's getting even worse. We learned.
Is this where night
like,
school happens?
No, it's like shooting. It's like bow and arrow stuff, like horseback riding, shooting. It's things that I'm like not familiar with, but I felt like it enhanced our bond because, well, he already kind of knew how to do those things, but for me, it was just like learning a new skill with him and just, I don't know, seeing how we work in different situations.
Now, that sounds like you entering his world and his interests a little bit.
Yeah.
Is it reciprocal?
Yeah, he went hiking with me, so.
Oh.
And he's not normally a hiker.
He's not a hiker, but I mean, I'm so sad he's not here. You guys would like have had so much fun with him. He's very much like from the country, like wants to eat what's
Meat
it
and
called?
potatoes.
Chicken fried steak.
What's it
chicken.
called? Chicken.
I'm not from here. I know.
What's it called?
That might be the most offensive thing you've ever said.
I know.
On this
She's
show.
gonna get
never hears
kicked
this.
out of Texas.
I know.
Grounds
trust
for
me.
divorce.
I know. So yes, I think entering each other's worlds is like good for us on that.
No,
one.
I agree. I think it's nice. It's attractive, Ron, to see that your partner is really good at something, right?
Yes.
To see that they're masterful.
masterful. It's just, I mean, he took it that way. He took it in that direction. We
haven't said
can't
a
bring
thing.
it back.
I haven't said a thing.
You don't need to. I'm looking into your 4 eyes right now. I know. I
Your
see
4
everything
eyes.
I need to know.
Okay, you guys, these two, like I said at the beginning, have a spicy podcast that I think that our audience is really going to love. So we will be back in the third segment. Oh, and by the way, Millennial Zach is here. So he's going to
came
join
just
us.
in time.
Waiting in
He
the
came
wings.
just for the third
He came
segment.
for the spice.
Like most millennials, he's late.
So we'll be back in the third segment of Second Shot.
Now that's what I call ignorance on fire. More of Heath and Jenny still to come.
To all of my friends in the great state of Texas, if you have not taken advantage, I have a way to save you a ton of money. I have saved over about $3,000 in the last year, and I have no hassle. Go to energyogre.com, put in the promo code SECONDSHOT. Now listen, promo code SECONDSHOT, and you're going to get a free month just for signing up and saving a ton of money. So don't be crazy. Stop sitting around talking about is this the real deal, and go do it right now. energyogre.com, promo code SECONDSHOT, and a free month. Thanks. Go get it now. Run.
Kick off your boots or suit up. The choice is yours. Welcome back to Second Shot on RNCN.
Well, Zach is here for our
Yay.
final segment.
So cute.
I did it.
I know.
Thanks. Yeah.
He brings our millennial perspective.
It's all
Love
I've
that.
got. It's true.
It's
Ron,
not all
it's
you
wonderful
got.
to meet you both. Yeah, thanks.
see you.
Sorry for my tardiness. I was on assignment for the show.
Well,
Top
I-
secret stuff.
Oh, I thought it was going to be really funny, Zach. I'm sad that you weren't here for like the news headline reading or whatever.
Me
for you to
too.
be doing the headline reading and then to have the like 3 former news anchors sitting here.
I'm so
Going,
yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
he is
that,
really good.
That was my one shot, and I missed it.
Well, we're nothing, so you
It's
didn't miss
okay.
anything.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys did fine.
Yeah, our
right?
opinion really counts for absolutely nothing.
I believe it, Ron. I bet. who read the headlines? I'm curious.
I did. I mean,
Well,
I'm not
I
going to
think
like
she
have
was
a
great
guest
at it.
come
She was
in and then be
alright.
like,
Big-
here, work.
Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill. So hey, I respect that.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to. First of all,
Yes.
I knew I was. Gosh, my head without like a producer in my ear. I have
You didn't
no
reset
clue.
the clock, did
I
you?
have nope. And I have no clue what I'm doing. But I did want to read. You guys, we've been talking about the Second Shot Facebook group that all of our people are hanging out in, and somebody wrote in, Justin, and I won't say his last name in case he's like wanting this to be super super secret, even though he posted it in the private but public group. This is a shout out to my husband since he's not on here today. He says, I wanted to say that I had the distinct pleasure to meet Heath earlier this week. It was an experience that will not soon pass. He was the true epitome of a Texan. Heath showed me hospitality and was a very engaging person, gave me far more of his time than I ever would have imagined. He goes on to say that he's a humble and good soul. So I love when like I hear other people pump up my
yeah.
husband. So I thought it was very cool. And Justin
But
had
file a
first
restraining order against him just in case.
I know your last name,
A
Justin.
little too cozy to me.
This man sounds dangerous.
That's sweet of him. Yeah.
So that was very cool. Thank you for the cool shout out, and also to the people who won the book giveaway. One of you still has not sent me your address, so you know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Send it to me, and I will get you the book. So don't be running around town saying I won that giveaway, and then Jenny never
Chanda
sent me.
Yeah.
Doing the old bait and switch on the book
I
giveaway
know,
again.
I know.
Second shot, people.
I know, just getting like followers out of it. Okay, now let's talk about your guys' new podcast. I want to know how the idea came about to do a podcast.
I'm trying to remember how it came about.
Well, there's a wonderful podcasting company on Air Media.
Yeah.
And so I had hooked up with them right after, about 7 months after leaving Channel 8. And I thought, oh, wow, this is really cool. I didn't know this existed. And so, I had that relationship. I think you had that relationship. And I always felt like Ron and I weren't done together. I always felt we were going to do something else
Yeah, it was
together.
somebody there who said, hey, have you thought about doing something with Alexa? And I said, I'd love to. What do you have in mind? And let's just have a meeting. And we literally sat down. And I think we brainstormed for a minute and came up with the title. And
morning after.
And we said, what's it going to be about? We said, absolutely nothing. We have no idea. We're just going to take it as it comes.
Kind of like this.
Hashtag Seinfeld.
Let's book guests if they're available. Let's find other things that are happening in our world that we can talk about, things that might be personal, things that might be not personal, and try to make it relatable by sharing, just our point of view. And we're off to the races, I think. I mean, we're episode 6 now into it. You're like 126 or something?
About that.
So, I mean, it's been like a UFC fight every week with her. I don't know if we'll ever get to 126.
Oh, shut it.
But we're working on it.
It is so fun, though. Have you... I know that some of the feedback has been people saying like, oh gosh, I missed you guys doing this. But don't you think you get to do it on an even bigger level on a podcast as opposed to on TV?
Yeah, and I think it's... that's what's so cool is that podcasting has really changed so much for people who used to be in the news business, and we do get to do it on a bigger level. And it's taken, for me at least, some getting used to the fact that we can really say anything.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's more competition because, there are a lot of podcasts and there's a lot of content, just like there's a lot of content now through streaming.
Sure.
I think, at one point, all of the streaming services combined had something like 186 original shows in production, and now it's up to 480 production. How are we all going to watch all of this stuff or listen to all of this stuff? But hopefully what happens is you find a way to cut through the noise, rise to the top, be among those that people make more habitual and listen to regularly. I know you're working on that. We're working on that. It's a bit of uncharted territory. We consult with people who know more about it than we do, and then we just try to do our thing.
Isn't it kind of crazy to be like new in an industry that you've done for so long?
It is, and it feels good that maybe we're giving ourselves a shot. We're either in complete denial that we're washed up, or we're actually charting new territory. I haven't figured out which it is yet.
Oh, maybe a little bit of both. So I like to think that we're chartering. We're in new territory, and I think it's really cool that we are in business for ourselves. I mean, we are our own brand, and it's kind of nice to not necessarily, really feel owned by, think about that. When we all worked at television stations, our images were, more or less licensed when you think about it.
No,
of course, a bad haircut was called out.
You did not have a lot of creative freedom, and I think that's the bottom line. All of us, like we were talking about in the last segment, who I think get into the news business have a lot of creative energy. We like living in that creative space, and now we're doing it in a different way, but I would say minus a lot of the rules and regulations.
Yeah, the rules and regulations.
That stifle
rules
people.
And regulations.
That stifle people, and this is not the way at every news organization, clearly, because some are more successful than others for particular reasons. But I do think in general, in the world we live in, that to be allowed to be yourself and to be encouraged, and it gets back to the Daily Buzz and how that was really a case study almost, and I had followed the regulations of being a really solid, great reporter, I hoped, and anchor person, and then I was given this format and forum on the Daily Buzz where it was like, you're the news guy and you have credibility and you know what you're talking about, but be yourself in the space in between where you can, and the combination of those two things, you hope, really captures people's attention. And that was early on. That was 2002. And the kind of feedback I got and the kind of feedback my agent got, we were like, boy, this is kind of a whole new world and a whole new thing. I thought I'd be compromising my credibility by being goofy when the moment called for it. And in truth, that became appealing to others at even higher levels. So it was interesting.
It's funny. It's like one of the big buzzwords today is authenticity,
of course,
and organic, and transparency. But you were doing all those things back in 2002, and I would say, when you get into certain careers, whether it's the news business or other careers, you constantly have people messaging you saying, "Be this way or be that way." And I certainly encountered that, from the start of my career. Cut your hair shorter, be more serious, bring your hair, bring your voice down. All you have to do is be you. It's as simple as that, and as complicated as that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I worked with Jody Applegate, who has had a very storied career as well, and she was the weekend anchor of the Today Show for 6 years, and she's covered international stories. And when I began working with her in 2006, she was more youthful and more herself and more authentic than she had been 10 years earlier, because 10 years earlier she was 31. And they thought she looked too young, so they dressed her up in...
Did you kill to look too young?
They dressed her up to look older. They put her in suits. It was all
and then she looks like she's playing dress up.
It was all very deliberate. A short haircut that was very coiffed. I mean, and I remember sitting with her thinking, oh my gosh, I thought you were, you're this age now, you look 10 years younger than you did 10 years ago. But she also exuded more of who she was. I mean, that was a better representation of who she was. She was allowed to express herself.
Sure.
That's powerful.
I'm curious, did you two keep in touch after you left the show, Alexa?
We had a gap.
We had a gap.
We had a little gap.
Yeah, we had a little gap.
She was a little too busy for me for a while.
No, I thought you were too busy for me.
See, now
I want you to know, I texted you on your birthday
this
the
is
year
therapy.
before.
Now this is therapy.
Let it out.
No, but that happens. I mean, I think her departure and leave. It's so funny because now that once we talked about it, she had this idea. And if this is interesting, because this is like Brene Brown too. We make up these stories in our head, these narratives that explain what we're seeing that isn't the truth at all. And her feeling was, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, well, Ron's just forgotten I even exist. He's on buses and billboards and new campaigns.
No, I thought everything was going great.
And has a new replacement, and she's wonderful, and she's replaced me. And meantime...
You know better than that, Alexa.
The meantime, I'm thinking, gosh, I really miss her.
Yeah.
And why did that have to end? So really, I mean, it was 4 years, but it didn't feel like it. You were my sidekick,
Your
my
person.
partner.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we really were. So we didn't communicate those things to each other, and there's a lesson in that. That when you don't communicate with each other, you begin to create these false narratives about how everyone's doing. I thought she had just moved on and was done with anything Channel 8 related, including me. And she thought I was the company guy who was doing great, and I had easily found her replacement.
Oh gosh, that is such a good message about communicating. It's like, it goes back to the ice cream thing. Like, we're paying attention, pay attention, communicate, be involved, be invested, especially in people like, if, we've all moved a decent amount during our careers, and it's like, there are those people that, I've even reached out to like a year later and said, I miss our friendship. Like, we used to see each other every single day, and that's part of what makes your career enjoyable and lovable on the days when it's not.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, especially when you work in a team-based environment.
There was a moment years ago, I remember it was between like Oprah and Whoopi Goldberg, and they'd done The Color Purple together, and many years had passed, and they hadn't really kept in touch. And then when they finally were reunited for something, they looked at each other, and she said, I hope you're okay. And she said, I'm fine. And why? Well, I thought you were mad at me. Well, I thought you were mad at me.
See?
And they'd just gotten busy separately. And somehow created those stories in their heads, and they were completely not true.
Do either of you think you would ever do news again?
I mean,
like in a traditional sense?
I would never say never, right?
No, never say never.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
That's like me. I've talked about that on this show too. And to be honest with you, I didn't hate, I hated when the alarm went off, but I didn't hate the schedule because then you have all day. I loved having my afternoons off.
I liked that.
I loved working mornings.
I liked it too, but for me, I did it for 19 years.
Yeah.
And then the body gets tired. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like her body's doing great. I'm like, I don't know. Looks like it's hanging on.
Well, thanks.
She's all right.
She's all right. What do you think? What is a millennial think?
How's her body looking? Wow. How do you think her body's holding up, Zach?
I'm great over here. Things are good.
Zach,
what's up?
I want to know. I actually do want to know from you. So you left a team environment, and now you're working. I mean, you're kind of working in a team environment, but also like a lot of independent study, independent work. Yeah. Have there been challenges with that?
Oh, there have. There have big time. It was actually something I was talking to somebody about the other day. I'm one of those people that like I like to talk. That hasn't come across in 126 episodes. I like talking, and it's tough when you work with very few people or you work independently. You work from home. Like you just change environment, and like it can really throw your game off.
You need that social element.
Yeah, and at first I thought, well, if I take that out, I'm doing more work. No. You just find other ways to occupy your time, and like turns out bouncing ideas off people and just talking and engaging like really can drive me to get some of my most creative stuff done.
It's good energy.
So, yeah.
But you don't want to compromise like flex time if you're one of those people who's able to have flex time. But again, being present in an office environment. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that Alexa and I will never be able to work with anybody ever again as long as we work.
Yeah,
Because we do work with a team of people and we collaborate.
For
and
sure.
It's just very different, just a very different format. We're not held to the same constraints, although, you know, for the right money, I'll be constrained.
For the right money, I'll do a lot. Yeah, totally.
Really?
But it is an interesting thing I find, even just with, like I told you guys about the hot works business I've been doing, and it's like I'm working on these things on my own in a Starbucks or like at the home office or something like that, and I'm like, I miss my work friends.
Have you never done have you never done the
You know?
WeWork thing or the shared workspace?
I've looked into a couple of those. The price point on them is pretty high for the amount of time that I spend in them, and I often go to Heath's office, or because he's got a good office, so I just kind of like sneak in when into one of the conference rooms or something like that. But even still, they're like the people around there, they're working on insurance, like they're not a part of my creative process.
Right. They're not in that a different kind of space,
It's
but not
different,
like the creative space that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thing
animal
to kind of like delve into and everything like that. Now, when you guys are producing your podcast or getting everything together, what is who's your audience? Who are you trying to get? Who do you want to be like your audience, your listeners, your viewers?
Anybody who has a pulse.
Yeah, right.
Let's start with
Even
that.
those ones who don't. Everybody. I mean, I think it's a podcast for everybody because really, we joke about it's a podcast about nothing, kind of like a play on Seinfeld, but it's about real conversations.
Yeah.
And sometimes they span from the hilarious to the very profound. So I think it's really geared toward everybody.
Well, give it a shout out. Let everybody know where they can find it. Now that you guys know where to find it.
Well, today we're having a hard time because it's supposed to be, as we're sitting here taping this, it's supposed to be dropping, but Facebook is having issues with Facebook Live.
Facebook.
So our Facebook page is, you can search Morning After with Ron and Alexa, but the handle's at AM After Live. Mm-hmm. So that Facebook page, it will drop there every Thursday at 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Then the audio version is on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play and all of those other places where you listen to podcasts. And we also have a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Again, just search Morning After with Ron and Alexa. If you subscribe there, you can be notified every time a new video pops up because we do a preview, we do a recap, and we do the episode.
Okay.
And let me reiterate that.
Please do.
amafterlive.com is our website. Again, like Ron said, Facebook, YouTube. For audio only, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, are we on TuneIn?
I don't even.
I believe so. Yeah, you should be.
I don't know what TuneIn
We
is.
should be. We don't even
I don't know what it is.
Trust me, I know. Zach's like, it's these old people doing podcasts.
I know.
No. What's this TuneIn thing?
TuneIn is the MySpace of podcasts, all right? It's great. Yeah.
See, thank God he's here. Thank you.
TuneIn is the Instagram of to Spotify's Snapchat. I don't know what I'm saying. Words are just, it's fine. TuneIn's great.
I like it. Wherever you'll listen. I mean, right? We'll all take all your listens anywhere, but the good news is everybody that's listening to this knows how podcasts work.
Bring me your listeners. You're hungry.
That's right. Anybody who's listening to this already knows.
They get it. Yes, they get it.
That's right.
Good.
I had some friends fly in this morning, and they were like, what's this podcast you're going to do? Why aren't you doing TV?
Yeah.
Like, this is lame. And I was like, listen, trust me, in like 10 years, you are going to be like, oh.
Please, Jenny, don't tell us we have to wait 10 years.
2, 1. If my mom figured it out, it's all good. Okay.
I'm going to be in dire straits.
Matt, tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, wow. We're going all over the place today. You can find me on Instagram at MattStoker1. Also, you can find me on the Facebook Second Shot group where I post all the new episodes, and I'll just be floating around in there from time to time.
We can't wait to see you floating.
I'm
Zach,
floating
what about
always.
you? Now coined Millennial Zach.
Yeah, thank you. At Apple Zackintosh on Twitter and Instagram. Morning After is the name of the show, right?
Yes.
Subscribe, rate, and review, guys. Like, podcasts are hard. You have no idea how much it means. Morning After, check it out.
Yeah, and this has been great. Great job, Jenny.
Well,
Really,
thank you.
really
Thanks for
great
having
job.
us. This was so much
Thanks
fun.
for coming.
With the
Yeah,
whole
this was fun,
family.
guys.
I've always loved you, but the fact that you've teamed up with your husband to do this, I think it's just remarkable.
Thank you. Oh, that means a lot.
You're
Coming from you guys.
you're
Thank you.
beautiful family.
Oh, thanks. Well, this was just really one that pumped up my ego, so I'm loving this episode. So, you guys, secondshotpodcast.com. If you rate and review, it'd make Heath so happy. He shames you guys every time. Review. We know you guys are listening. Leave a rating and review. I'm at JennyAnchondo.com, and we will see you guys next week.